tiger and the Chinese dragon. Not only do these two represent two very strong nations, but also a very strong Indian company, Tata Consultancy Services, going into a huge Chinese market. But so far, the tiger and the dragon weren't the best match, because you had problems with implementing your ideas and reaching your own targets. Therefore, there's a question arising on how to be more successful in the Chinese market. We, from ABC Consultancies, Maya Thielenhaus, Tom Deutmann, Alexandre François, and myself, Timo Kahn, are happy to present to you, dear judges, our proposal. First of all, let's look at Tata Consultancy Services in China. You're serving your mainly Chinese customers in the high-end IT solutions market with outsourcing and consultancy services. You're focusing on the lifetime value of your customers because through the many years in which you serve them, by learning curve efficiencies, they become more profitable to you. The key resource in all this is the Chinese IT talent pool, which is important in order to be strong in the Chinese market. How are you actually doing that so far? We conducted a SWOT analysis in order to see. The major strength is that almost all of your customers are highly satisfied with your services. Also, there's a potential huge client base because they're strongly developing the domestic Chinese market. But there are weaknesses. You have human resource management issues, which you need to solve, especially as the cultural and language issues in between the Indian managers and your Chinese employees. My colleague Alexandre François is going to take over now in order to dig deeper into these issues.
Thank you, Timo. Okay, now looking at the two different cultures, what we can see is that sometimes they can be contradicting. For example, in China, employees tend more to execute order, while in India, employees tend more to express themselves and to challenge hierarchy. Furthermore, in China, what we can see is that employees want to get promoted really fast, which leads us to a high turnover rate, mainly because of this unrealistic promotion expectation. Furthermore, in the universities, they have less practical training courses, which are therefore insufficient, and Chinese companies tend to prefer to work with other Chinese companies. Now, looking at what we did so far, we focus on the culture. What we are going to do is to adapt to Chinese working mentality. How? By following our 3R project: retention, recruitment, and retraining. And we hope all of this would bring cultural harmony within the company in China. Looking at the two strategic alternatives we could either go for academic strategic alliance or doing our own course and building our own facility within the company. Advantage of doing so, following alternative one, is that we get better pool of talent, they get experience in teaching in the universities, while at the same time we get closer to the academic community. So we would rather go for the first alternative. Now, looking at what we want to do there, first of all, we want to have practical course, we want to have exchange program, we want to get closer to the academic community, we're going to fund research, and finally, we want to organize events such as workshops. Looking at the different partners we can start with, we can see that Beijing is really good in terms of reputation, large IT development, and they also focus a lot on praxis. Now my colleague Maya is going to take over and explain you about the case competitions. Thank you.
Dear Alex, dear ladies and gentlemen, another step in order to increase recruitment is to host the TRC case competition between Chinese science and engineering universities. We will provide their undergraduate students with 4-week basis training on how to prepare cases. This will basically be the preparation for a final summer case competition between all of these universities, where the winning team receives 3 places in our new master program. This will allow us to find and help recruit extraordinary management talents. The university choice itself will be based on a ranking of Chinese universities. So, ladies and gentlemen, the major problems the company has arise from the gap between Indian and Chinese expectations, and the solution is to support the Chinese working culture. Studies have shown that Chinese employees highly value strong leadership, development and training opportunities, as well as a friendly working culture. So in order to close this gap, we have to establish trust, social climate, as well we have to align with communication. This will be done by refocusing on commitment HR. Basically, there are two different categories of facts that are important. The first one is business aspects, for example, common goals and development opportunities. The second category is social aspects, for example, social events or a positive working atmosphere. We will implement these factors in order to achieve positive impact on satisfaction, on commitment, and also on the attrition rate. Factors that can achieve this in the short run are integration programs, introduction trainings, as well as social events and rewards that are based on teamwork. This will allow us to increase solidarity. Apart from this, weekly newsletters will allow us to increase and improve communication. However, in the long run, you have to develop a career development program which is tailored to each individual employee. The alignment of company and employee expectations, the provision of advanced education, and of additional benefit will finally allow us to establish the TRC employee grants.
Thank you, Mike. Having seen what our project is all about, we're now going to obviously establish an action plan for the whole project. By 2010, we're going to implement our universities, incurring already operations costs by 2011 for the following years. Simultaneously, we're going to set up our commitment-based HR implementation and our case competition that improves our reputation of our own study program throughout the whole country. All this combined will lead to workforce growth by already 2012 recruiting only from our own university, and by 2011 increasing our workforce by decreasing our turnover. By 2015 we're going to be able to reach our target of 4,000 employees, and we're going to increase that to 6,500 employees by 2017, equaling a compound annual growth rate of 70 to 85%. Now looking at the financial assumptions that underlie our project. Well, for the universities, we assume a setup cost of $2 million, a cost per student per year of $900 to $1,000 US dollars, and a starting base of 500 students. For the commitment-based HR approach, we assume a turnover rate decrease to around 10% and an increase of productivity of 20% for the existing workforce in the first 2 years. All in all, this is going to lead to an exponential revenue increase for the whole company. Looking at the costs, the average annual costs we are going to have to incur for the operations of the university are going to be $1.2 million per year. For the commitment-based HR approach, we're not going to have to incur any further funds, but we're going to decrease our salary component of the employee costs from 87 to 77%, funding the other, so the staff and welfare and development and training. Here again we see that the employee development is going to follow an exponential function, reaching our target by 2015. For the revenue, we see that following our project, we increased the current revenue of $38.4 million to around $273.6 million US dollars by 2017, increasing our productivity of the workforce from $17.45 to $21 per year. Now my colleague Timo Kahn is going to take over with the wrap-up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. So in a nutshell, we have two strategies of academic strategic alliance and a commitment-based HRM. This will increase the reputation of the company as a good employer so that you can decrease your turnover and increase the recruitment and retention. Overall, we will reach your employment target by 2015 with highly capable managers and practically oriented engineers. You will increase your productivity in a way which is holistically made out of recruitment, retention, and retraining of the employees. This will bring harmony in between the tiger and the dragon and balance between the Indian and Chinese way of doing business. Thank you very much for your